Welcome to Rewatch and Rank. On this channel, we rewatch our older TV shows, provide a summary and opinion on the episode before ranking each episode against each other, and today's episode is Death Note Part 1, Episode 22, Guidance. The episode in a nutshell is just a brief reminder of what happened in the episode. So in the episode, we pick up where we last left off after Misa has revealed what she's done, with L staring blankly ahead. However, this time now we're led into his inner thoughts where he commentates to himself on how he knew that Misa would do anything for Light, though he never imagined she would go quite as far as she has. And he's also a little bit worried because while he's close to catching Kira, he also needs to know how Kira kills. And because Higuchi has now been asked to stop killing in order to prove that he's Kira, they now don't have the opportunity to find out the method of how he kills. Light then guesses again L's thoughts on this and realizes that the problem they're having is not being able to discover how Kira kills. And then L asks him to imagine that Light Yagami was Kira. Light Yagami no longer has the power of Kira. And then in the case where the power moved on to somebody else, was the power gifted by someone and taken from Light Yagami against his will, or was it Light Yagami's choice? And Light basically thinks it over and states that it would be his choice to remove the power in the scenario where the power could be passed on, which L also agrees with, because if it was at the discretion of another power, there wouldn't have been a reason for Light to have had the power for so long before it left him. So they basically decide that they have to come up with a new plan that will force Higuchi out into the open so that they can not only prove he is Kira, but then also see his method of killing. And they choose to do this through bait, which is Matsuda. Because Matsuda was posing as Nisa's manager, Matsui, who faked his death, they will bring basically him to the TV station, hide him behind glass where he will give evidence regarding Higuchi as Kira, but not saying that it's Higuchi until the very, very end of the episode, which will last 3 hours, which gives them time. And sure enough, they start the show. Matsuda agrees to do it. They start the show. They contrive to have the witness glass fall over briefly so that Higuchi can see who it is, because they're pretty sure he doesn't have the second Kira's power, though Matsuda does understand he is taking the risk that he does. Then Higuchi basically is made aware of the TV through their accomplice amongst the Yotsuba group, who have also started to figure out that Higuchi's Kira and they're not very happy about it or having to continue the meetings. So they're happy to plot against him in exchange for immunity, of course. And then Higuchi, after Matsuda fell off of the balcony, he basically wrote down his fake name just in case. So he knows that that's a fake name. But when he tries to call the others for help, they all, because they know his name, are saying, oh, Kira will take care of it. They'll write down the name, as he's the only one that's actually Kira. He's the only one that knows that it was a fake name. So then he calls Mogi, who is acting as Misa's current manager, who claims that they're on a company vacation and he doesn't have the personnel files, but confirms that Matsui was a fake name, and then comes up with like Yamashita or some other Yama name as his name and says, well, I'll give you the security code so you can get into the offices and look through the personnel files yourself. And so Higuchi then leaves his home and starts racing towards the office, and Wedi takes up pursuit. And that's where we leave it. So now it's time to rank the episode, and as always, we're ranking on our 2 ranking lists, the mostly objective ranking list first, followed by the personal ranking. So on our mostly objective ranking list, the only one that I felt applied to this particular episode was positive 3 points, and that was for our multi-arc supporting character development, which is where we have Matsuda taking on the risk to his life by participating in the plan at Sakura TV, where he is going to pose again as Matsui and Misa's manager who faked his death, and reveal himself there so that they can provoke Higuchi into taking action and also proving that he is Kira and showing them how Kira kills. And as that's the only one that applied, this episode is a 3 out of 10 mostly objective episode. Which then brings our part 1 rankings so far in our mostly objective ranking to in first place Rebirth, Confrontation, Doubt, Wager, Decision, Execution, Ally, Encounter, Confessions, Tactics, Friend, Pursuit, Glare, Unraveling, Love, Makeshift, Dealings, Assault, Matsuda, Performance, and then this episode is way down at 21, Guidance, with Overcast at 22. Bringing me to my personal opinion on the episode. So, the first part of the episode was basically them just talking and going over making up the plan, which was good to let us audience members in on what the plan is, but at the same time, it is just a bunch of people talking. Then we have a meeting between Yotsuba group members, which again, people talking. Which, I mean, again, what they're saying is important to the plot. It is giving us insight. At the same time, it is a bit boring to watch. Not going to lie about that. However, once the plan gets started, that's when the episode starts to kick up in excitement, in entertainment value. It hooks you in. It makes you want to keep watching, captures the attention, and becomes interesting. So we start, of course, the fun part with, Higuchi being tricked into watching the show, realizing it's Matsui, revealing that just in case he had written down Matsuda's fake name in the Death Note already, so he knows it's a fake name. He then calls one of his coworkers. They aren't willing to help him, again, because they think Kira will just kill him because they don't know it's a fake name. Higuchi realizes this, and so he instead calls Mogi, who is posing as Misa's new manager, which of course he's completely unhelpful, and Higuchi's face literally is like he's trying to disconnect his jaw as he's grinding his teeth so hard because he's so frustrated by having to do things himself. But it is a 3-hour TV program. He still has at least 2 hours or more left, so he decides he's gonna go to the office at the headquarters of the entertainment group and look into the personnel files so that he can find Matsuda's real name, which obviously is another fake name. And so he packs up the Death Note, gets in the car. We can see Rem in the car behind him and heads there with Weddy following him. And then we get that cliffhanger because he's in the car now and all of the plan is coming together, but it hasn't come to fruition. So you get the kind of anticipation of that cliffhanger. And of course, like I said, with the people talking parts, what they're talking about is very interesting, especially like the L and Light interaction where Light once again is able to figure out where the gap is in, not the gap is, sorry, what L is thinking, like why he's reacting the way that he is, and also participates in the hypothetical of would Light Yagami give up the power by choice, or would it have been taken from him by a third party that is unknown? And that also is interesting because it also shows that Elle still has a lot of suspicion for Light, but also has accepted that Light isn't currently Kira. And after Light says that it would have been Light Yagami's choice to give up the power, L says that he's made him feel 99% better. So that was fun too. Overall, I gave it a 6 out of 10 because I did feel like the excitement that I felt, it elicited that excitement while watching, and that's worth a lot of points for me personally, but also there were boring parts. So, with that ranking, our personal ranking so far for part 1 becomes in first Rebirth, Encounter, Glare, Execution, Confessions, Doubt, Pursuit, Ally, Decision, Confrontation, Tactics. This episode is 12th, Guidance, followed by Dealings, Makeshift, Friend, Love, Overcast, Wager, Performance, Unraveling, Assault, and currently in last place is Matsuda. Which now brings us to our final segment, which is our series ranking so far. And on our mostly objective ranking, we have a total of 155 out of 260. Then on the personal ranking side, we have a total of 126 out of 260. With that, we've now rewatched and ranked Death Note Part 1, Episode 22, Guidance. Like and subscribe if you'd like to, and I'll see you in the next episode.